Hi there. Welcome back to another episode on Asian Horror Tales. On this episode, what I'm about to share with you are true events of some spooky incidents that happened to me and a few of my friends a few years ago. A couple of years back, while I was still studying in university, the university had a policy whereby the final year students were not granted accommodation in the student hostels in the campus. These hostels were normally reserved for the junior students from year 1 to year 3. Therefore, all final year students had to find their own accommodation off campus, either in the nearby villages or in the nearest town, which was about 20 to 30 minutes away by car. So here I was, with three of my other course mates, Roy, Daniel, and Timothy, looking for an accommodation outside campus. Since all of us had our own cars, we thought the best would be to find a house in the nearest town. That way, we could even carpool to classes, since all of us were taking almost the same subjects anyway. During our years in the university, we became very close to one of our lecturers. He was our lecturer for one of the subjects in year 1. We grew very attached to him and considered him like an older brother. Since he was actively involved in sports as well, we usually called him Coach Steven. Coach was a local lad and he knew many people in the town. Therefore, we asked him for help to find us a house to stay. But it wasn't easy for him, since there were only a couple of days left before our semester started. Most of the houses in town were already rented out. Luck just wasn't on our side, and we were getting quite desperate. Then suddenly, on a Friday, Coach calls us and informs us that he has a house available to be rented. The house is owned by one of the local family that runs a provision shop in town. So he asked us to come over and view the property, and if we liked it, we could decide it then and there. We went over to the house. It was in a quiet and remote part of the town, and it was the middle house among the only 3 houses in the whole row. House number 13. I just didn't feel good looking at it from the outside. There was something off and eerie about the house. The paint on the external wall was peeling off. There was mold growing on the floor, and the grass around the house was about 2 feet tall with bushes. It seemed like no one had been staying in this house for a long time. As we stepped in to check out the house further, the interior of the house was dusty and filled with cobwebs, rat or mice droppings, and had very few furnitures. In fact, the rooms did not even have their own beds. Not only that, I was rather surprised that the design of the house was very odd. We could see the back door of the house as we are entering from the front door. There was a total of 4 bedrooms and 1 bathroom in the house, 2 rooms each on either side. From what I have read, these kinds of houses were considered very unlucky. The house owner advised us that since there were only 4 of us renting the house, we could use the first 3 rooms in the house. As for the last room near the kitchen, she asked us to keep it locked, stating that there was some old junk left inside by the previous tenant, and it would just be a waste of our time clearing it out. Looks like we have our hands full, guys. I think we should try looking elsewhere for other options first and keep this in view, I said to the others. Are you mad? Coach had been trying his best to get us a place to stay, and we don't have any other options. The owner already mentioned that there was another group of students who was keen on this property if we rejected it. Are you going to take that chance? Asked Daniel. We only have 2 more days to go before our final semester starts. If we keep delaying, we might have to sleep on the streets, man. Let's just take this place and make do with it, since we are just going to be here for about 5 to 6 months, said Roy. How long has the house been vacant? I asked the owner. It has been vacant for the past 3 years now. It is not good to keep a place vacant for many years. That is why I thought of renting it out again, said the owner. What happened to the previous tenant? I asked. The family shifted elsewhere, she said in a harsh tone, clearly getting agitated with my questions. It seemed like everyone else was fine with the house, except for myself. After much contemplation, I agreed to rent the house and move in. By the way, Auntie, the grass around the house is about 2 feet long. Can you please get someone to clear it? I asked. Why? You want to play football around the house, is it? She asked me. It was clear that she wasn't happy, but I didn't care. She was getting the better end of the deal anyway. No, Auntie. We have no intention of playing football or hide and seek around the house. The grass is too long. God knows what could be in those bushes. Snakes, rats, we never know. What if something comes into the house? I said, raising my voice as I started to lose my temper with the attitude that she was giving me. Eventually, she agreed to get the grass and bushes cleared by the time we moved in on Sunday. We paid the required deposit and first month rent for the house and came back on Sunday to move in our things and do some spring cleaning. Even though I wasn't happy, all I thought to myself was to just ride out this wave and get my semester completed successfully. As the rooms did not have beds, we had to buy our own mattresses to be laid on the floor. We decided to share 2 to a room and sublet the 3rd room if there was any other students who wanted to stay with us. As we were busy cleaning the house, our next door neighbor, Mr. Shiva, came to greet and talk to us. It's been a long time since we had a neighbor, he said. I must applaud you boys for having the guts and being brave enough to stay in this house. At that point, all of us were clearly taken aback by his statement. Why do you say that? Asked Timothy. Well, anyone would be terrified to live in a house where the previous tenant hanged himself and committed suicide, said Mr. Shiva. All of us just looked at each other with blank expressions on our face. I could see it in their eyes. They were just as disturbed as I was. As Mr. Shiva left, all of us were very quiet. We continued to do our chores. No one spoke a word. Probably it was because deep down we knew we did not have any other choice, since we had already paid the deposit and the monthly rent for the house. Even if we walked out of the place right now, we did not have anywhere else to go to. A couple of weeks in, one morning, I decided to skip my class so that I can prepare for an upcoming test at home. Daniel and Timothy had left for class, and Roy was at home since he did not have any classes on that day. As I was still in bed, Roy's phone started ringing. "Roy, answer your phone." But he was fast asleep. The phone kept ringing and ringing and ringing again and again and again. I had woken up from my sleep and I was starting to feel irritated and angry. I felt like the ringing of the phone was eating into my brain, for God's sake. "Roy, go and answer your phone, asshole," I said to him, while I nudged him a couple of times with my hand. He still did not move an inch. I turned and I saw him sleeping so soundly, covered in his blanket from head to toe. I felt bad for getting angry with him and disturbing his sleep. But the constant ringing of the phone was just getting to my nerves. I got up and I went to the table to answer his phone. It was Coach Steven. "I've been trying to reach Roy since just now. We had planned to go for an event today. Tell him I'll be there in 5 minutes to get him." I did not want to tell Coach that Roy was still sleeping. Instead, it would just be better for me to wake him up. I ended the call. I put the phone on the table and I turned around when Roy was walking into the room, clad in a towel and wiping his head. I was stunned for a few seconds. I didn't know what was happening. I just couldn't believe my eyes. I looked at the bed. There was no one. My heart started pounding and my hand started to tremble in fear. "Where were you all this while, Roy?" I asked. "I was taking my bath, man. I'm going out with Coach today. He would be coming to get me any time now." "Who was that you were talking to on my phone?" he asked. I told Roy what had happened. We were both stunned and disturbed about the incident. Just who was that sleeping next to me, we wondered. A few days later, myself, Daniel, and Timothy were watching a movie in their room, and Daniel wanted to use the bathroom. As I was thirsty and lazy to move, I told Daniel to get my bottle of water from my room as he came back. As Daniel went to the bathroom, the light was on and the door was locked from inside. "Is that you, Roy?" he asked. "Yes." So instead of waiting, Daniel went over to my room to get my bottle of water. To his surprise, Roy was in the room, studying, while listening to songs on his earphones. Daniel was shocked. He went back to the bathroom, but this time the light was off and the door was open. Daniel was clearly spooked by this incident, as he conveyed the story to us over lunch the next day. He did not want to tell us anything in the house, afraid that something or someone might be listening to our conversation. We came across a few other instances such as these, but on the bright side, we were glad that we were never harmed in any way. If you ever plan to buy or rent a property for your own stay, please do your own research on the property. There is more to this world than meets the eye. You will never know what secrets are hidden or what dark terror a property brings along with it. Never expect answers from your property agent because most of the times, even they may not know the intricate details. There is another part to this story that I would like to share with you. Something that defies human logic, perhaps. Something that even transcends us. An incident that still makes the hair at the back of my neck stand whenever I think about it. Stay tuned for Horror House Part 2.